the moment Lyne Barlow's world fell apart. She wrecked the lives of family and friends.
Oh my God, like someone that you knew could deceive people that way. I was really shocked, and obviously it was the talk of the town.
She broke the dreams of hundreds of customers in her too good to be true travel scam.
So many people out there that we've spoke to that have been ripped off by this woman.
Hello, Durham Police.
Just want to speak to somebody about this Lyne Barlow.
It was Durham's biggest ever fraud inquiry.
What she was doing was actually ingratiating herself with people, you know, having lavish parties. She was popular.
And we hear from Lyne in her own words.
It's like I'm looking at a person who I would detest, like my skin crawls to think of that person that could do this to people, and I need to be punished for what I've done.
Have you got anything to say to the victims, Lyne?
I've never met anybody like Lyne Barlow. This was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime job. Right, okay. This interview is being recorded and it may be given in evidence if your case is brought to trial. I am DC 2441 Blackett. Obviously you know I'm from Durham Police. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. A fraudster lies, that's what they do. So you always have to have that cynicism of anything they say. Is it the truth, or is it lies?
Ali Blackett, the detective who spent years bringing Lyne Barlow to justice. It was her last job before retirement.
The main motive is to me has got to be greed. It's got to be she liked that lifestyle. She liked spending money.
Oh, there was a snow machine, there was the red carpet, there was like the VIP strings. It was very posh. I met Lyne Barlow through a friend of mine. We would have drinks together and then she would join on different other occasions. And we would do Thirsty Thursday at her house. We would all be invited to hers. You didn't have to take your own drink like we normally would amongst the girls. If we had like charity events, she would rock up with the most amazing expensive prize. They were always on holiday, and it wasn't just like a cheap holiday to Spain, it was always Mexico or Dubai or somewhere like a little bit more extravagant. Clothes-wise, it was always designer, like our handbags were always named, as were our shoes and designer dresses and things. And I think she wanted to be a millionaire, and she wanted to show off and show people what you could do and what you could organise and what you could give, and for people to like her or talk about her, like, oh my God, have you ever been to one of Lyne Barlow's parties? They're amazing, and there's this there and that there, and which is really kind, but when you look back at it now, it wasn't even her money.
But behind Lyne's public face lay a world of deceit. Her wealth was ripped off from others, and it all began with her own mother.
It started when her mum received some money from when her husband passed away, which is Lyne's father. And Lyne basically just took control of her mum's bank account. She'd done that on the pretense that mum was just suffering so much with grief that she just wasn't able to do day-to-day management of her finances. So Lyne's number got put onto her mum's account, and then from there she basically just emptied her mum's bank account.
She did give me access to her accounts. She was aware that I could access them, and she trusted us. And then I used to say when she was expecting bank statements, oh, there's problems, they're not coming, and things like that.
To conceal the truth, Lynn hid her mum's mail and the police found 5 bin bags of her post in the attic.
Lynn told her mum that she could invest money. So her mum thought she was well off. She thought she was well off from the pension payout. So what the explanation was is that that money could be doubled, quadrupled or whatever through an investment, and the investment was supposed to be through Lynn's husband and her husband's company.
I said that for people to invest and that they would get like a massive return on it.
She went to the extent of actually creating bank statements. So she created a bank statement on her own computer showing that she had credits, large credits coming in from these investments, showing that the balance was over £1 million. And her mum had sight of those and truly believed that she was a millionaire.
I feel like I'm sitting here making an excuse and there's no excuses for what I've done to my mum.
She had, bailiffs on her back because of unpaid utility bills that she was obviously aware of. She had markers against her, so she couldn't get any credit.
I can't get any money out. Why is that?
She even struggled to find herself just a basic bank account because of all the markers were against her. They weren't against Lynn, they were against her mum.
In all, Lynn conned her mum out of more than £500,000. And when that money ran out, she moved on to her friends.
She was totally normal. Lived in a normal estate in Stanley.
This woman, who we're calling Sarah, knew Lynn from when she was a child. She didn't want to go on camera. An actor is speaking her words.
She was always really generous with me. She was when I used to babysit for her. She would always pay more than like a stupid amount for babysitting.
My mum was a friend that I met through I've done the Cambridge diet. We became good friends, lovely lady.
She very out of the blue approached my mum and said, my mum's invested a lot of money into Paul's company and I think it would change your life, so do you want to do the same? And obviously because they'd been living sort of quite a nice life really for the last, 5 or so years before that, and we'd been wondering, where does Lynn get her money from to have these parties and go on these holidays and stuff? And obviously now we know it was from our mum, but at the time we just thought, oh, well, this explains it. They're clearly getting a lot of profit from the investment into Paul's company. So I think my mum did it, and I sort of asked at the time, are you sure this is right? And she said, it's just Lynn. Like, Lynn wouldn't do that to us.
I wanted to be needed and I wanted to be liked. I was struggling with that feeling from anybody else, and I just thought, if I've got this tie with her, she's going to have to be my friend for at least a year.
It's quite an unbelievable claim to come out with. If you want a friend, you don't, suggest that you're going to buy their friendship for a year, but you're not even buying the friendship. She was ripping her off, and she would have known she was ripping her off from the start.
With her mum's money running out, Sarah became worried.
So I thought I'll message her and see. I'm really worried about Mum.
I would be the same with my mum. I know it's difficult to understand. It'll change your mum's life.
In all, Lynn conned Sarah's mum out of £100,000.
My mum is so diligent. She's never been in debt in her life, never been overdrawn. I think my nana was doing food shops for her and stuff wasn't getting fixed, like with her car and around the house and stuff. It's just, my mum had to kind of pick up the pieces. Having lived a completely normal life and been working towards retirement, she suddenly found herself in a position where she had to start all over. She had nothing.
They were left penniless at points. Other people, they'd used inheritance to supply the money for the investment.
What I can't get over is how she looked us dead in the eyes and told all those barefaced lies. And trying to trust anyone after that is really difficult.
Whilst she was ripping off family and friends, Lynn's crime stayed under the radar, but now she tried her hand as a travel agent. And that was to be the start of her downfall.
So we contacted Lynn and she gave us a price for a golf holiday. There were 6 of us and it was quite a really good price actually, competitive. A lot of others couldn't touch the price and we said, yeah, we'll go ahead with that.
Paul had heard about Lynn from friends who'd booked cheap holidays through Facebook.
There was a private minibus when we were waiting with a bar inside and the room in the hotel was fantastic and we couldn't complain. After 3 days we got a phone call from reception saying can we come down and see the manager. So we went round reception to the manager's office and he says unfortunately even though you've got documentation for 14 days all inclusive, Lyne Barlow Travel's only paid for 3 days. We couldn't believe it.
Were the holidays actually booked? Or were you just saying that they were booked and then suddenly at the last minute you had them?
Last minute I would book them.
Yeah. Somebody had paid for your holiday, you didn't buy them their holiday, you used that money to pay for another holiday that you were in desperate need to pay for that you'd already had the money for already.
Yeah.
You hadn't spent it on that, so it was a never-ending circle.
It was.
We was ringing Lynn 4 or 5 times and even the manager was ringing Lynn because he had dealt with her to do the booking. And as soon as it didn't start ringing, the number was blank and the text messages weren't going through from our phones, we then knew we were in big trouble here.
Complaints about Lynn were now being made to the police and Ali decided to pay her a visit.
Hello, I'm DC Ali Blackett, from Durham Police.
Straight away she disclosed to us that she was suffering from cancer.
I'm not very well. I've got cancer.
She came across as very frail. She had a head covering on to cover the fact that she had hair loss from the cancer treatment that she'd been going through. She had a walking stick as well. She was very unsteady on her feet and said that she had to actually sit down because she was so frail.
It was the beginning of the COVID pandemic and Lynn was assessed as high risk.
Howard taking her into a custody area that could potentially expose her to the COVID that nobody knew what that was going to do to somebody in that position. We had to weigh all that up first before making, the final decision as to how we were going to deal with her. She was never going to get off the hook.
The decision not to arrest Lynn meant she was free to continue running her dodgy travel business. And the customers kept flooding in.
So we booked our family holiday with our friends to the Norfolk Broads on a barge.
Claire from Newcastle spent £1,000 for her family holiday and they drove almost 300 miles with her children to get there.
Must have been about 11 o'clock when we arrived there. We couldn't book on until 12, so we, hovered around, looked at all the nice boats and thinking, oh, there's our boat. We had the name of the boat and everything that we were going on. Went to the reception, no booking.
So, after a 600-mile round trip, Claire decided to go to Lynn's house to get her money back.
Lynn answered the door.
Hi. I just wondered if we could come in and have a chat about the holiday.
She had a bandana around her head and a big strand of hair coming down her face. And I thought, have you really lost all of your hair, at this point? Then she invited us in, sat in the kitchen, she offered us a glass of water, I was asking her questions, and within minutes, she accidentally knocked her glass of water over. And I said, something's not right here. I think she knew, she was panicking. I think she knew that she had not booked our holiday, and I think the guilt was tripping in.
And it certainly was.
Lynn!
More angry customers were coming to her house.
Lynn! I can see you, I'm not daft. I'll be back and I want me money.
And Lynn was getting desperate, reaching out to neighbours, friends and family to lend her money.
This is when I was getting all the threats and things through, and I literally asked anybody I possibly could to help.
It came up on social media about all this fraud. I was thinking, it can't be, she's not like that. That's not the person I'm getting to know after all these years.
This woman, who we're calling Anna, was close to Lynn. Her children and Lynn's were at the same school. She didn't want to go on camera, and her words are spoken by an actor.
It was an afternoon, I got a text through.
Hi, I think this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever done. Please don't let this go any further.
And it made you shake when you read it.
There are some very unhappy people and mad.
As a mum, it pulls on your heartstrings.
Is there anything you can lend me in the meantime? I'm mortified even asking, but I'm so desperate.
Oh my God, it's horrific. I could send 3. That's all I have in the account.
That would be amazing. I could send it back tomorrow morning.
So, I transferred the £3,000.
Hello, Durham, please. Hello, I'm just wanting to speak to somebody regarding fraud, please.
Just want to speak to somebody about this, Lyne Barlow.
I've already rang Suey and I'm not on the plane.
They said that they hadn't received anything in my name.
We're actually driving down to Centre Parks and we got told to pull over and that because it's not even booked.
We were inundated with calls. We had over 165 incidents logged within a 2 to 3 day period.
How much have you paid? How much have you given?
£4,000. £6,000 for the holiday for the 5 of them.
£1,000 back in the 14th of February.
Paid at £5,520.
I've worked in the control room for 19 years and I've never seen the volume of calls and incidents reported for one particular suspect around the fraud.
I take it, looking at the Facebook thing, there's like lots of people affected by this.
She's got cancer.
It was very apparent that it had caused a lot of distress to people who had paid money but hadn't yet had their holiday, and it was clear they weren't going to get the holiday.
When were you meant to be going?
The 4th of November this year for my 70th birthday.
I had a call literally as soon as I walked in the office to say that they'd been inundated by calls about Lyne Barlow. See, we'd had these little rumblings prior to that, but then it all just seemed to erupt then.
It was to become Durham's biggest ever fraud inquiry. Detectives were drafted into the investigation, and the head of the fraud squad took immediate action.
We decided that we would arrest Lyne Barlow irrespective of health conditions.
Lyne Barlow?
Lynn answered the door at that time. Again, she was presenting wearing a headscarf. She invited us in. There was her and her husband in the address, and we informed her of the allegation and that she would be arrested, and we intended to search the premise. While we were at the address and conducting the search, there was a number of calls at the door by people who had taken holiday deals and were essentially trying to get the money back.
To the station for a few questions.
There was some lack of understanding from her husband as to why we was there.
You can't take her to the station. Look at her. She's got cancer, she's got chemotherapy in the morning.
So he was informed of the previous allegations and the escalation because he, you know, was questioning the fact why the police would be arresting someone who was suffering from cancer.
Lyne was taken into custody, and it was here that her biggest deceit was exposed. Beneath the headscarf, she still had a full head of hair. Her cancer and chemotherapy were just more of Lyne's lies.
Within our custody sites, we have medical staff who can access medical records. And what was relayed to me by the time I got to the police station is that she divulged that she hadn't had cancer and she'd never been diagnosed with cancer.
Have you ever had cancer? No. Okay. Who had you told that you did have cancer?
Everybody.
Everybody, yeah. Had you told people that you'd had cancer more than once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice.
Twice, okay. So everybody thought you'd had cancer twice, and that was not true? No?
It was certainly a revelation that sort of like steered the investigation. And one of the decisions that was made was to inform the family because she was going to be released from custody, and it was quite clear that the family didn't seem to know that she didn't have cancer.
Can I ask, did you ever use that sort of like as an excuse for things sort of like to do with the money and paying stuff back and whatever? Did you ever use that?
I used it for the business. When people were threatening us and stuff, I would use it for like, please don't hurt us, I'm not very well, that kind of thing.
It confirmed that she was capable of lying, and certainly lying to individuals close to her.
It was just a really weird time because we had absolutely nothing and she was still going on holidays, but she supposedly had terminal cancer. So how do you approach anyone on that? How can you challenge anyone on that?
It had to fall down at some point, didn't it? Yeah.
It's horrendous. I literally do not sleep at all. I don't eat. I don't do anything because I have to suffer for what I've done to people.
To play on an illness, going to the extent of playing a part, walking with a stick, getting wrapped up in the middle of summer.
One thing is ripping people off, which is horrendous. Another thing is actually saying that you've got cancer, which for me is the lowest of the low.
Why did you do it? Why did you lie? You know, cancer's not a thing, it's not a jokeable illness. You're a disgrace of a human being.
Lyne's finances were so complex that the police had to bring in a specialist accountant. There were 450 separate frauds and 1,400 victims.
Well, I received 16 bank accounts, and within that there was over 21,500 transactions to analyse. It was in excess of 1.2 million that has been identified as Lyne Barlow's benefit from the holiday frauds and theft. With regards to how that was spent, it is very difficult to identify what was personal and what was the payments for the holidays, but it has all been spent. There's no pot of gold anywhere that I've found.
Lyne's home was attacked by arsonists and she left the area. The police would later find out she was trying to leave the country.
We received some information that she was potentially going to move away from the address that we believed she was at, so we deemed her to be an increased flight risk, and because of that we wanted to be able to put her onto bail conditions so that we could control her movements and she couldn't abscond.
Do you wish to speak to a legal advisor now or have one present during the interview? No. Is there any reasons why you don't want one present?
I'm just going to answer the questions honestly that you're going to ask.
I would say it was unusual not to have a solicitor, but at the end of the day that was her choice. Her phrase was that she doesn't need a solicitor to tell us the truth.
I didn't set out to hurt anybody or intend to hurt anybody, but I've done it.
There was always this element of, yes, but I did it because. There was always that sort of excuse on the sidelines as to why she'd done what she'd done.
There is no evidence to say why she did it. She didn't really provide sort of like her account as to why she did it. She obviously wanted a lifestyle and she continued to do what she did.
At Durham Crown Court, Lyne admitted all 10 charges against her. The judge said she had an extraordinary talent for deceit and described the betrayal of her mother as breathtaking. She was jailed for 9 years.
Have you got anything to say to the victims, Lyne? Will you apologise for what happened?
I don't think it's long enough for what just put people through the heartache. Obviously I'm not the judge, but there's people out there with real issues of cancer and other family members. Like I have a family member that's really poorly and that's like real life stuff, and she's just lied and caused so much heartbreak for so many people.
We initially thought it was just the holiday fraud, and I think the biggest surprise was probably when we realised what had happened to her mum. Unbelievable that her daughter could do that to her.
The financial loss, although significant, is nothing in comparison to losing my family. I hope in the future there can be some reconciliation, as life is so precious. I will love her until my last breath.
You know what, now looking back, I'm so pleased it fell down when it did, because I've been able to tell you what's happened, hold me hands up and say I have done this and I am ready to be punished for it, but I can also, my family can get by with me not being here because I'm in prison,